So this is my Grendel I showed on another video. It's just a Grendel, well, it's a Grendel upper with a Colt lower, but all put together, it's a 6.5 Grendel, right? I personally like this caliber the best. I just wish NATO would have it. And probably a couple other good ones like the 6.8 Remington or the 25 Sharps, the 25 by 45 Sharps. I just wish they'd make something a little bit stronger than this M16, although I know why the M16 works. It's because of the speed. Well, speed actually kills cells in itself, even when all the factors are equal. But that's just a little tidbit I want to throw out on here, because sometimes people just look at the total energy, the bullet weight, the hole size, and all that stuff. Is actually the speed itself will cause the cells to rupture all around, where the like little tiny air balloons. That's what happens, right? Just want to tell you that. That's why NATO wasn't so stupid when they adopted this round, and the Chinese did, and the Chinese adopted a round similar to this. Not the exact NATO round, but similar to this. This is the Grendel, and I had, and also the Russians with the AK-74, right? The 545 by 39 millimeter. So I didn't have a scope for this, and I was thinking, you know what? I says, let me look. I says, I remember I had this scope for my Colt H-bar, and it was okay. It's a Chinese scope. The one thing is, it kind of, it doesn't, you don't have to have any kind of scope mounts or anything like that. I remember what I did was I got some Loctite blue when I screwed these screws in here really tight so it doesn't come loose. It's not that bad. I think it was like $100 a while ago. They're cheap, and you don't need anything special. It goes, you could still look below the sights down here. You could still look through below the sights. You could still got your iron sights. I will never put a scope on a weapon that you can't have iron sights for too, unless there's no iron sights with the weapon in the first place and it's scope only. But I got one weapon like that actually, and I put a very good scope on it at Redfield. But I never put just a scope on a weapon. I always have the iron sights. The scope is a luxury, but just want to say, even if you got something cheap, this is like, I don't know what power it is, maybe 2.5 power, 2 1/3, I think it's 2.3 power. But you're better off with something like that because you get your target acquisition a lot better. It gets a little bit more light in there. And this scope just mounts by turning. It's got a lever right here. It just turns and it tightens down into the carrying handle. Now, the one problem I had with this scope was originally it wasn't like loose, but it wasn't like manufactured where it exactly fit in the carrying handle exactly perfect. It might have been a 0.5 off or something. So what I did last time, and I did this again this time, I just used some, well, I used duct tape, I think black duct tape, but this is Gorilla tape. But it's enough that, you know, you think the tape will make, it doesn't make it loose. It actually tightens it down. It makes it much, much more secure because that tape sits in that valley, and when I tighten this down, the tape gets totally crushed down, and it takes up that extra 0.5 or maybe 1,000th of an inch that I need to really lock this in secure. So after that, what I did was I used my little laser sight, and you know, it was kind of amazing. This was actually on another rifle, and this thing was very close. I didn't even have to adjust the windage at all. This thing, it's out of the package here. Yeah. This thing has like adapters in it for different calibers. This is for the 22 caliber, that end. This just sits in there, and let's see if it turns on. I had a hard time getting this. Here it is. It's on. See? You see it right there? So all you do is you stick this down the barrel, like so, and it fits in there really tight. It's like a, not real super tight, but it fits in there, and you see the dot. You just aim it out at something like, I don't know, 50 feet away or something, and you sight in your weapon. Now, I know I already sighted, this weapon's already been sighted in with this, but I never, with the iron sights with this. And it's kind of amazing that it gave me a lot more faith in this Chinese-made scope, because the scope came off another AR. You know, you got to remember, this is not some. This was actually a very high. This is actually a high quality upper for Grendel, so it's probably made very, very good tolerances. It's Sabre Arms, and they're one of the ones that is, you know, okay by Alexander Arms to make their uppers. So when I put this scope on here, I was surprised it was almost dead on. I just had to change the elevation a slight amount. That gives me a lot of faith that this scope will probably be okay. And even though it's a cheap scope, it's better than nothing. And I just want to tell you that I've seen some. I'm looking at people on the internet doing modifications, and I don't know what the hell they're doing, man. I'm like, I never really did crap to these rifles that I have. I know the more you use them, the better they get. A lot of times, like with the trigger, you know, maybe that's probably because I never installed a match trigger in any rifle I had. I've actually opened up the rifles, and I kind of use a little real fine hammery to sand where the trigger, you know, makes contact to release. And I don't know, you see like this Blue Dylan, like gun oil or something. It was something else. I usually use CLP though, break free. I don't do anything fancy. No, yeah, I know people change out these pistol grips. They change out the hand guards. I don't know. They put all these different things on a weapon, like I don't know, laser lights and I have one actually with a laser on it, but it's you know, red dot when it first came out instead of a scope. I basically don't do anything. I don't. You know, they get different stocks. They change out the buffer spring in there. They change out the bolt. They change out all these parts, and I think they're just wasting their damn money, to tell you the truth. And then they stick the weapon on a, like a, you know, a bench rest thing. I don't even own one of those damn things. The only thing I did, well, I probably got some slings around, web slings. I probably got some extra ones. If I don't, I'm probably going to get one. I'm going to get a web sling for this damn thing. And I have them on all my weapons. Sling, a web sling, a plain, you know, I guess the Army uses them too, the Marine Corps uses them, just a plain web sling. That actually gives you in a much better position for steadiness in a practical world. Like, you know, when they train on it, when you actually qualify on a KD course, there's 4 basic positions: sitting, kneeling, prone, and offhand. You know, so when you use that sling, that gives you like a tripod effect. I just never have rested the weapon on top of something. And I know that also changes your elevation, because if you use a bipod, that'll change your impact point too, because there's nests. It'll hit lower. It doesn't jump. The barrel doesn't jump up as much. So I mean, I see a lot. I've watched some of these YouTube videos of what some of these people are posting, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I just never freaking waste my money on all that bullshit. No way in hell. I'm not sure about this Chinese scope, but you know, I've had it around a long time. It's probably, I don't know, 25 years old or more, and still works. But I can tell you that any scope you got, in low light conditions, it is pretty damn difficult to see these freaking sights. And, you know, maybe that would be something that they have where you got like a sight that glows or something, you know, with that tritium shit, whatever the hell it is. Actually, I have this stuff, you can paint them. You can paint the sight. And it's got, I don't know if I'm saying that word right, tritium. You know, you can just paint it. Like, I figured, you know, why the hell am I going to buy all these sights and shit? What a ripoff. I got this special paint that you can put a dab of something on there. And, you know, but usually with this, you want the sight black for in the daytime so you can see what the hell's going on. You don't want a white sight. You know, I put that actually on some of the pistols. But I tell you one thing, sometimes it pays just not to go too crazy on the shit. You want the weapon quality, but once you buy a quality weapon, I mean, these bells and whistles left and right they get stupid after a while. They really do. I don't know why people need them. You really just need practice. And I'm probably going to get, like I said, I'm probably going to get back into it. I'm looking at what all my reloading stuff is and all that stuff with the, you know, I got the junk that makes the military crimps, and I mean, I got the whole 9 yards and everything. And that's because I used to reload like 1,000 rounds at a time. But the real thing you really remember is, you know, just use the weapon. And any of these weapons, I could tell you, like this scope made in China, I don't know, this thing seemed to be okay. I've had it a long time, except for like a little problem where maybe it wasn't quite in here all the way, but it did spec out when I put this tape on there to maybe that half a thousandth that didn't quite sit in there exactly perfect. You don't notice it when you're putting it on, but I found out when I was shooting it made a difference slightly. And then when I put the tape, it worked. And then I put a Weaver scope on the other one. Then I just had this, and I said, well, let me just stick it on here. And it turned out that it, you know, bore sighted, no problem with the laser. It was almost dead on. So I said, that's a good indication. But one thing is, you don't want a Chinese-made weapon that, unless it's the Chinese-made weapon of their military. Because I've seen, kind of going off on a tangent here because I'm just recollecting all of these things all of a sudden. I've seen a lot of these weapons that were like the AR-10 that fires at 308, and they had a Chinese equivalent of it. And after so many rounds, the headspace would change drastically, where it would be dangerous to fire because the metallurgy was not the same. But if you're using a Chinese-made AK that they use in their military, you know, anything the Chinese military uses, it ain't going to be screwed up. I can almost guarantee you that right now. It's like some of the stuff they sell for export to the USA is screwed up. But what their military uses pretty much is okay, not a problem. Now, of course, you can't get the exact thing, but you can get like an SKS or something. You know, that's not a bad one to have too. Cheap wood stock, but it does work. It does work well. So anyway, just figured I'd do a quick update on it and throw some little tidbits out here because, you know, you don't want to be cheap with the weapon itself, but sometimes these accessories, I don't know, I had this, sometimes the cheap stuff works. I don't see any point of changing out the, you know, a lot of stuff on here, like the magazine catch, changing the trigger, changing the magazine catch on the other side. This is, you know, the bolt release or something, magazine catch on the other side. I can't see why you would do that. You know, changing out the hand guards, changing out the butt stock. It's like people go, I don't know why the hell they're doing all that stuff, because to me, they're sold in on marketing all the way. The rifle itself is what you really want, is quality. And the main thing that makes the quality is the shooter. It's like somebody that can run 6 or 7 miles, you know, in 6-minute miles, and 7-minute miles for, you know, 20 miles, and you stick the best shoes on somebody else that can't do that, and they got the best Adidas or Nikes or Asics or New Balance or whatever, you ain't gonna do it. You know, you got to be trained. You got to know their shit. Training is everything. Not so much the equipment. You actually got to train. And I think I got to get back into that shit. So you can see I'm kind of getting that, moving that way a little bit right now. So we'll see.